On now to our next focus. Rhea Chakraborty pushed, shoved by the media as she entered the Narcotics Control Bureau 2 days after her brother was arrested. The allegation is that her brother provided the late Sushant Singh Rajput drugs and that she was aware of it. So far, the drugs in question are thought to be marijuana. But how is alleged marijuana consumption linked to the death by suicide of Sushant? What about those who reiterate that all of this is part of a witch hunt against Rhea?
Rhea Chakraborty arriving at the Narcotics Control Bureau or NCB office. As a media frenzy ensued, the Mumbai police's attempt to shield her from the jostling failed. Later, the police barricaded the entrance to the Narcotics Control Bureau office to ensure social distancing and order. But bystanders who gathered at the agency's office often refused to cooperate. As the actor left after a day of questioning, the Mumbai police tried to stop the media from chasing her car, but once again remained unsuccessful.
Due to the late arrival, the investigation couldn't be completed today. So the investigation will be continued tomorrow. She has been issued summon under 67 to appear before us tomorrow also.
Late on Saturday night, Rhea Chakraborty's father, Indrajit Chakraborty, issued a statement condemning the arrest of his 24-year-old son, Shouvik Chakraborty. He said, "Congratulations, India, you have arrested my son. I'm sure next on the line is my daughter, and I don't know who is next thereafter." Meanwhile, the Narcotics Control Bureau arrested Sushant Singh Rajput's cook, Dipesh Sawant, who in a voluntary statement told the agency that Sushant was smoking marijuana since 2018, but he never procured it for him.
After an eventful day at the Narcotics Control Bureau office here in Mumbai, calm has finally returned. But larger questions still remain. Has the principle of innocent until proven guilty in criminal law been dumped? And is it fair to vilify Rhea Chakraborty even if she is an accused, as she is yet to be proved guilty by a court? In Mumbai, with Purva Chitnis and camera person Sanjay Mandal, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Well, joining us now, Varun Singh. He represents Sushant Singh Rajput's family. We're also joined by Vikas Gupta, who has been following this very, very closely. Mr. Varun Singh, let me come to you first. Irrespective of the side that you're defending, Sushant Singh's family in this case, do you not believe it's unfortunate the manner in which Rhea Chakraborty was hounded by the media, physically stopped almost on occasions, pushed, shoved? Is this the path to justice?
Sir, I mean, I really can't say in what manner she's been treated outside the office, because that's,
of course, you would have seen it on television, sir.
The media people who...
And it's
yes.
media people who've done it.
I can't...
It is media people who've done it. There's no question about it. But isn't that disgraceful, sir?
Yes. Sir, be it that is may, all I can say is that our country is in a democratic country like ours, where we have constitutional rights for accused as well. She is all within her rights to make out a case against anywhere about all these cases which have been filed against her. So just to make this kind of statement to say that she's been vilified right now, I mean, I don't know how much does that hold water, for the simple reason that if you are an accused and if you know these cases have been filed against you and if you know that you are innocent, then you are more than allowed to, go to any constitutional court and tell, or any other court to tell, that why you are not guilty of these offences.
But
and
is
you can
it
make
fair,
out a case
Mr. Vikas Singh,
if you are innocent.
I know Mr. Gupta would also want to come in, but Mr. Varun Singh, let me ask you this. There are publications which have come out with a minute-by-minute breakup of what was actually happening when she was being questioned today. That at a certain time, this is what she apparently fessed up to. This is exactly what she has said. This is within that 6 hours of her being inside that office in Mumbai when these leaks were appearing. So where is the justice in that?
So that too, I'm sure you're covering other stories as well. There are so many people who get media injunctions against their cases. So I mean, whatever is happening to her, she has all within her rights to protect herself in the manner before any court of law.
Sure.
If she has any constitutional right, then she should go ahead and make out a case.
Okay.
So to say that, so you can't sit like a sitting duck and not take any action to protect yourself, and at the same time question.
Maybe she will, maybe she won't. That's up to her. I'm just trying to ask you know, I mean, whether
No,
it's,
that's-
whether
no,
what is
that-
happening
no,
is
that-
fair.
from-
But 1 second, let me bring
from-
Vikas Gupta
maybe-
over there.
maybe-
Why don't you, Mr. Gupta, answer that question? The way in which she was geared by the media, pushed around, shoved around, it feeds some sort of a frenzy, quite evidently. And the way in which this case has been reported, even when she's outside, inside, leaks happening at such and such time she said this, and such time she said this. What is this indicative of?
Vishnu, if you really look at the chats about drugs that appeared on 2 leading English channels, I'm so surprised at how investigating agencies could selectively leak it to only 2 channels and no questions were asked. Let me just remind you one thing, Vishnu, that all along she had a bashing from the media and she was called various names which I don't even want to call out. Women who talk about women empowerment, women freedom, Asmita, had bashed her and called her by various names in the last 70-75 days. It is only after few channels provided a platform to her to present her side of the story and bring out some facts about the case, then it was said pliable media is providing platform and all this kind of a bashing started again. What all I'm saying is, now ED and CBI has been investigating. I don't know whether much headway has been made into it. NCB is doing a parallel investigation. They are looking at a larger angle. Let them do it. I have no difficulty. Even at the time of the transfer petition lying before the Supreme Court, I had openly said on various channels that I have no objection into CBI if that dispel suspicion in the mind of the people and even in the mind of the Sushant's family also.
Okay.
But now at least allow a fair. Now just imagine you run a hashtag arrest Rhea. Today also when she walked out of the NCB office, just 10 minutes prior to that, few English channels, I don't want to name it sitting on your channel and do that, Vishnu, but you are smart enough to understand.
The
They
whole
were
world
running
is,
that
go
Rhea
ahead,
has already been arrested. That Rhea
They
has been arrested.
chased her vehicle
This-
apparently after she left.
And Vishnu, this was the first time when I'm seeing that the family and the councils come and say on the very first day when the matter is transferred to CBI, I'm very sorry to say that please arrest Rhea.
Okay, one moment. I want to go back to
I want to
go back to Mr. Varun Singh. Mr. Varun Singh, from what we know of this case so far, there is a recovery of a certain amount of marijuana. There are allegations that Sushant Singh Rajput consumed marijuana. There are allegations that Rhea's brother apparently provided Sushant Singh was some sort of a conduit over here. How can you explain to me, is this somehow linked to his death by suicide?
So the allegations in the FIR, if you have seen, it's actually about giving some kind of medication to say that there have been controlling of mind or there have been inducement of some kind of drug which has ensured that he is wrongfully restrained and wrongfully confined and subsequently has culminated to this kind of incident. So let me complete and then you can of course ask me a question again. All I'm saying is that the information in the FIR is actually at a very basic nascent information. During the investigation, there could be many such instances which come out which could actually add on to the case as well. In this case, if there has been any inducement of drug which was unknown to him or which was implanted in his food, drinks and thereafter, and it was pre-planned in a manner, then there could be a criminal conspiracy to control his mind that way as well. I'm not saying that is the exact role which they are looking into, because this is a subject matter of investigation. It's unfair for anyone to make any comment on that aspect. But it can very well have, this case has come to this stage only because the prosecution is also making out a case which is directly linkable to this FIR. So therefore to say that there can't be any nexus would be very, very premature at this stage. And you also need to understand one more thing, that the investigation at this stage is only 20 days old. And I'm sure Mr. Gupta will also admit to this. And in a normal course of any offences which is up to 10 years and more, a minimum of 90 days is taken, and even more thereafter if even after filing a charge sheet, if they want to file a secondary charge sheet also. So right now to discuss all these things in 20 days time, to say that whether ED has made out a case or not, whether CBI has made a case or not, whether this is linkable or not, is too nascent. The investigation will conclude many things during the course of time, which
So,
can
Mr.
easily
Gupta, would you like to
add,
respond to
connect
that?
the dots together.
That if you look at the FIR, the allegation is that he may have been given something, not necessarily just marijuana, which contributed to his mental state, and it led him to a death by suicide. So the allegation is larger. The conspiracy is that if he was consuming drugs, perhaps he was being given or consuming some other drugs as well.
Vishnu, I fully agree with Mr. Singh that FIR is not an encyclopedia, it's only a first information report. That's perfectly fine. Now, who will testify? You just tell me one thing. More evidence will come on picture on this scene. The 5 people who were staying with Sushant, if they come and testify that Sushant had been taking marijuana or any other drug, hash, ganja, I really do not know, then the whole case of prosecution gets demolished. Please understand that. Now it's just sitting at, I'm not against the investigation at all. If they want to arrest, let them go and arrest. On what basis they are arresting and taking remand, I really do not know, because I don't want to challenge the wisdom of the court, because whatever allegations and chats that had appeared on 2 English channels, they were all related to small quantity. And let me tell you, small quantities are all bailable offences. So maybe they are showing a case diary which has, maybe they have some more chats where they could establish that it is more than a small quantity. I really do not know, and I don't want to speculate also. But I just want to say that let there be a fair and transparent investigation.
Let there be a fair investigation. Let me just jump in over there.
Because please don't chase the vehicle of Rhea Chakraborty from her house to
so basically
NCB
what we do know so far is that as far as whatever the recoveries were made, as far as marijuana is concerned, there are some suggestions which have said that in fact the quantities were not of a commercial nature. However, today it has to be said that NCB officers did come and say that there were some drug recoveries which were made in the residence, I believe, of one of the drug dealers, which indicated that the amount was of a commercial nature. Again, how is that necessarily linked to Sushant Singh Rajput? That's a matter of investigation. I'd like to thank both of you very much for joining us.